I screwed up. I was going to do a review of Sleep Token's new album, but I got about 6 or 7 songs into it just to realize that I was only recording my audio and not the audio of the music. So you would hear me like talking about it and stuff, but I pretty much just had a bunch of dead silence in between. And I tried to plug it in, but I couldn't quite time it right. So instead, I'm just going to take some time to basically talk about the album. I'm going to talk about some of my favorite songs, the direction they went in with it, kind of the critical reception, I think what other people are going to think about it, as well as I think where the band's going to go from here. So unfortunately, I'm not doing my initial reaction because technically I already did that, and I don't want to re-record a fake reaction just because I screwed up the first one. So I figured it'd be more honest to just do a kind of a review rather than reaction. But yeah, hope you guys enjoy what this is. So it's been a little over 24 hours since the album was initially dropped, and I've listened through a couple times now. And honestly, I think that my biggest takeaway is that they wanted to do something a little bit more raw, a little more authentic to who they are as individuals, especially at least Vessel. I'm not sure if the rest of the band is kind of speaking on it as well. I'm sure they probably have some feelings similar. However, I think it was really interesting that this was a bit of a step away from the more lore fantasy. I feel like they weren't just dropping like just another album here. I feel like this is more of like a statement piece. They were trying to really say something with all of the different songs, whether it was more of a personal battle that someone was struggling with or a direct interaction with people like the fans. I feel like everything production wise was incredibly put together well. I think that their ability to genre blend and redefine what people look at as metal, in which I kind of want to talk about too, that like the fact that they're even considered metal is kind of silly. Like I don't think they really fall into any genre, and it really makes you bait the question of like what even is a genre? Like what's the point of trying to put people in boxes and stuff? And just because they do a particular kind of vocal or a certain kind of instrument, that automatically that means they're this kind of musician. And as soon as they don't start producing that kind of thing anymore, everyone's like, oh, what are you doing? And it's like, well, you're the one that created a false expectation for yourself. Like unless the band actually themselves claims like this is what we're trying to accomplish, then at that point maybe you could critique them a little bit differently. But like Sleep Token has never actually tried to say specifically what they were trying to do other than just make good music. They didn't. I don't think they've said in any interviews I know of where that they're trying to go in like a particular direction with the genre or anything like that. I think they just wanted to touch on different emotions and really play a whole spectrum of enjoyable music that I'm sure they find enjoyable to produce and play, as well as that they would hope that the listener enjoys as well. I feel like tracks like Caramel and Provide are going to be some of the more standout tracks of the album. Actually, here, let me find out. I want to check out the numbers real quick. So looking at the current plays of the album, obviously Emergence, Caramel, and Damocles, or Damocles, I feel like I keep saying that wrong. Those three came out sooner, so they probably don't have more plays. But given the 24 hours, it looks like even in Arcadia is currently in the lead. No, look to Windward, which would make sense. Like I feel like maybe people are trying to hop onto the album and try to get an idea of where exactly it's going, essentially, using the first song to do so. But personally, I think that songs like Caramel and Provider, like I said, are going to be the big radio hit kind of songs. I already know that Caramel's doing pretty well via like TikTok and stuff. I mean, Emergence is to an extent as well, but I feel like Emergence still touches a little bit more on the heavier side, so it's gonna be harder to get that to the mainstream. But these two definitely are going to be their like breakout tracks in my opinion. And honestly, I think that that's going to be a big split for the fans. I could honestly see a lot of fans getting kind of upset with the direction that they're currently taking, and that perhaps they feel like they're either selling out or that they feel like let down by the current direction in some way. But again, I don't think that they ever try to be anything that they're not. Especially if you listen to their earlier records, they've always touched on softer things. They've always touched on being incredibly experimental. So if anyone's upset at their new music, I honestly feel like you have no one to blame but yourself. You can't really try to assume what somebody wants to do artistically unless they themselves go out of their way to express that, like I said before. That being said, I personally like the direction they took this album, because for all we know, the next one could be heavy as hell. You know what I mean? It could be incredibly dark and one of the most metal things they've ever done. And I don't think we should put any kind of false expectations on them. I think this was kind of a pleasant surprise. I got a little bit of a vibe from it, given the 3 singles that they released, but I really enjoyed the different ups and downs of the sonics. I liked that there was everything from EDM to rap to metal to, again, like some of these softer, more like piano melody tracks and things like that. I love the cinematic moments of the album. There's a lot of, I feel like many of the songs have like a crescendo moment. Like there's this like slow, steady build up through most of the song, and then there's just like the douche that happens through a lot of them. And it's a very like, I guess you could say cathartic kind of thing to go through, especially since a lot of the songs are relative to a specific kind of topic. And even if the topic you're reading from the lyrics isn't directly what Vessel was trying to like say, whatever it means for you, either way, like you hear it and you still feel something really deep from it. And I think that's really cool if it's doing that for you. And I think a lot of these songs do that for a lot of people, and that's why they're, you know, getting as big as they are. I think it's more than just the fact that they have like the gimmick of the look and everything, or their, you know, setsy core. I think it's that they actually have something here that a lot of people can relate to. I think they're touching on something bigger than just trying to be the next big thing in metal. They actually wanted to try to do something pretty artistic, and I can really appreciate that. I honestly feel like this album shows like a lot of restraint in the sense of they had, well, I guess it could be viewed either way. In one way, you could say they held back from trying to do the things that they've done previously with a lot of the more lore driven things, and maybe they did that on purpose to try something new, and other people may view that as like you gave up on that to do something that is easier. Take that as you will. I honestly think that it was the former, and that they were trying to do something just different. Interestingly enough, if what Caramel has to say, as well as, you know, a lot of the album is true, the pressure that they're probably feeling from being like this big huge band in a mostly like metal scene is gotta be immense. And I'm sure that it's gotta be really, really difficult to not try to cave to just continuing to do what everyone expects you to do. So by doing this, they're kind of doing exactly the opposite of what everyone expects, which is kind of awesome in my opinion. You know what I mean? Like I think I'd prefer them to try to break the norm, even if it's by doing music that sounds a little bit more normal. They're by default breaking the normality of what's usually metal. So I think that's really cool. And again, that's only if you're trying to define them as a metal band. Production wise, I think it's incredibly clean. There's a lot less distorted instrumentation going on. I think there's a lot of piano that's really cool, as well as I heard some acoustic stuff like violins and stuff in certain songs that were like really, really cool. Or at least it sounded like it was actually like acoustically captured rather than just put on from like a violin track. I feel like they still really maintain that overall like kind of religious atmosphere that they've created for their music, though. Like it has that very choir cathedral kind of, because I mean that's literally what they're trying to create with the lore vibe more often than not, and they still retained a lot of that. I don't think they gave too much of that up while still crossing over to some of these other sounds. I feel like there's also all the new shifts that they're trying to make in terms of like their actual like physical appearance and everything too. Like they're trying to take a new direction with a lot of stuff. I know most of the band got a new look. I think even Vessel has this current gold look that I'm looking at right now, where like usually the mask was like red, but now it's like gold trimmed. So, as well as all the other band members, like I said, have new masks. So I think everybody is trying to like step into something new and try to play around with what it is to be a musician. And I think that's really cool. Some fans may think that they're changing too much, but personally, as well as I think many people would agree, I think it's just part of an evolution. It's just part of like change is inevitable, and not everybody's going to like the direction the change is going in, but I think it's good that people change rather than just doing the same old thing until it's like, you know, beaten into the ground trying to deal. And like it goes into the whole Batman thing where it's like you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become a villain. Like nobody wants to live long enough to see themselves become a villain. So like I'd much rather them keep trying different things and they die in their moment of like trying to be a hero and trying to like put out something new and different. Everyone's like, oh, that sucked, and that was like the last thing they ever did because they just couldn't get the same hype again, rather than someone just doing the same old tired idea over and over and over and over and over again to the point where it's just not even fun to listen to. It becomes kind of laughable. It becomes like a meme of like expectation, like you know exactly what you're going to get from them, which in some cases can be fun. Like if you're going with the intention of like, oh, no, I'm going to get, then I guess sure. But if you want something new, then I would lean towards stuff like this. You know, like going back to what I was saying with the whole evolution thing. I mean, honestly, Sleep Token's always kind of been about like an evolution. You know, the masks have been changing over time. The music has been changing over time. Like the lore has this like kind of story periodic shift that's happening as everything's carrying on. I think for anyone to assume anything less than for them to change would be kind of absurd, because it's kind of been a huge part of their entire creative process. I think they're a great representation of duality. I actually seen a YouTube video this when I going into their lore and stuff. I'll have to put a link into it. Honestly, I'm so sorry, but I can't remember the person's name or even the title of the video. It was just like a quick watch I did the other day, but I'll look through my history and find it nonetheless. But in the video, they described how perhaps the band is basically describing like a masculine feminine divide between either vessel, I should say, and sleep, being like male female, or like perhaps it's vessel himself dealing with male female like energies within himself. Either way, I think that a lot of what they've talked about has always been kind of dealing with the duality of things, life and death. Doing anything other than those kinds of topics, going through with change like I was mentioning before, would kind of be a betrayal to everything that they've accomplished so far. I think it's great that they're continuing to represent what they've done, in my opinion, the entire time. Like, if there's one constant of Sleep Token that you can't expect them to keep doing every single time, is it it's just going to keep changing. It's just going to be different. It's not going to be anything you expected like last time. You know what I mean? And I really appreciate that of them. So what's next for them? Honestly, I can't wait to see and find out. Definitely let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you love the new album. Let me know if you hate the new album. Let me know if you don't care at all, and if you think this video is stupid. Whatever you think, I did it. But I'm here to listen. I want to know what your opinion is. If you think that all my opinions are wrong, tell me why. Give me some reasoning. You know what I mean? Because I'm here for it. Let me try to understand more. Or if you just want to tell me how much you freaking love them, I'm right there with you. But if this album is any sign, I honestly think that this is a new direction for the band. It wouldn't be a bad thing to see them return to some of the older stuff, but I wouldn't doubt that they're going to keep moving into new things, and I'm here for it. I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to do next. But I'll be back with some more Sleep Token related content. I'm thinking about maybe doing a tier list now that the album's dropped, like every song that I've ever listened to from them. I'll have to maybe even go through and listen to some of the ones I've missed, if there is any. I don't know if there is any, but basically go and do a full re-listen, and then maybe do a tier list of like favorite songs from the beginning of their discography. I think that'd be a fun video, so definitely keep your eyes peeled for that. If you've been a follower of Sleep Token, be sure to tell me what you think about the new album and where you think they're going with it, if you like it or not. I can't wait to see what you guys have to say. Thanks so much for sticking around. Sorry this isn't exactly what I was trying to do originally, because like I said, I had the other thing planned, and I think I even talked about it like on TikTok. I might have posted about it on here too. So I know it wasn't the original idea, but hope you guys still enjoyed what I did do. To any avail, I really appreciate your time, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace and light.